Hello, this is Gary Audin, and here we have today a Telecom Reseller Educast, the title of You Still Need a Lync Gateway. Today you're going to be hearing from two speakers, myself and Frederic Dickey, Vice President of Professional Services and Product Management for Sangoma Technologies. And Frederic and I have run other Educasts in the past, and I think you'll learn an awful lot from his comments. What we're going to learn today in this Educast really is in three parts. First, we're going to talk a lot about Lync Voice itself, because a lot of people know Lync, but more for messaging and presence, but not for voice. Secondly, the importance of gateways in this environment and why you will need a Lync gateway. And then the third part, which I think will be really interesting, are tips and tricks from real-life installs that Frederic knows about and wants to convey to you. So let's first start off, Frederic, with defining unified communications first, so we all start on the same page.
Yes, exactly. Thanks, Gary. What I find unified communication seems like a word or terminology that gets used and reused and abused. So before talking about Lync, I felt like let's just kind of cast what we see as definition for UC. So you, me, everyone that will listen to this uses every day emails, instant messaging, maybe using Skype or some corporate application, uses their mobile phone, uses maybe voice over IP from their PBX. All perfectly valid or perfectly good applications in and of themselves, but they're all separate. They're not tied together. They're not unified, right? So what unified communication services are is to be able from at one place, maybe it's a piece of software on my computer, or maybe it's a piece of software on my mobile or my tablet, but from that piece of software, I can launch just about any type of communication that I need. I can start with an instant message, move to a phone call, then sharing my desktop and working on the document with a colleague. All of that launched from the same piece of application, as opposed to having separate applications that are a bunch of silos not tied together.
Let's talk about Microsoft's solution, which is called Lync.
Yeah, so a lot of solutions are out there for unified communications, and Microsoft Lync is Microsoft's solution or their way to address unified communication. So now we're starting to talk about what is required in the infrastructure to deliver this unified communication. And in the case of Microsoft, there's a Lync server somewhere, a software that you have to run in a data center somewhere, and it comes with layers of features. The most common one that, like you said, is the most knowledge about for people is to use Lync as an instant messaging and presence tool. Right? It allows me to have contacts in my company and be able to launch a quick IM or to do what is called link-to-link voice. Okay, not too, in terms of features, very similar to what you do with Skype, for instance. Right? Then on top of instant messaging and presence, you can add meeting, conferencing, the ability to run audio or video conferencing meetings, the ability to share a PowerPoint or a spreadsheet that I can work with another Lync user. So that is feature that you build on top, right? It's cumulative. So you start with the base, instant messaging, add audio video conferencing, and then ultimately the third set of features is what is called enterprise voice, or what we call here on this session Lync Voice. And what those are is really like the type of features you see on a PBX. The ability to call forward a call, to have voicemail, to be able to follow me. So all the types of features a user is used to see on a PBX, and it's also the features that allow you at this level, at this layer, that allow you to make a phone call from a Lync infrastructure onto the normal, I'm going to say the normal phone network, the normal PSTN. Okay, so that's what that third layer is, and not everybody buys the three. Some companies start with instant messaging and just kind of keep adding features, and some of them out there are really buying all three feature sets and completely replacing their existing PBX, for instance, and Lync becomes their only communication platform. Okay.
So let's move into the Lync server and its roles in providing these features.
Yes, yes. So before I talk about the gateways, I wanted to give like a, it's a quite a bit busy slide, but what you've got in an environment for Lync, you have a Lync server, you have Lync users that either use these little, this software client or these phones and registers to Lync server, okay? And then you have some infrastructure around the edge server that allows you to connect to other Microsoft Lync infrastructures like Office 365 or maybe remote users working from home or what is called federated users, maybe like another company that runs Lync and you established a trust foundation between the two companies so that Lync users from one can talk to Lync users on the other one. But all of that is great, and there's a lot of other products that you can integrate, with Active Directory, Microsoft Exchange, Server, Servable Branch. But all of that is great. It gives you all this UC functionality, but it's only available for Lync users. As long as you have Lync users and they call each other over Lync, it's all fine, but it's just a big island. It's not tied up to anything else. Okay, so
that brings up the point about connecting to the PSTN, because it's quite obvious you can't give an IP phone to everybody who's out there, and you also have customers and clients who won't be on the IP network.
Exactly, and to that effect, what happens is as part of the infrastructure. So if you compare with the slide that I had before, let me just kind of go back and then come back. So the same infrastructure, if you start adding what is called the mediation server, which is a one of the roles that is part of Microsoft Lync, that mediation server, its job is to convert whatever is proprietary that runs inside Lync and turn it into a standard voice over IP SIP phone call. Right? So once you have SIP, then I can use a voice over IP gateway that will marry, that will translate between the voice over IP, the standard voice over IP interface you have from the mediation server, and convert that to your good old, PSTN connection. In North America, typically a T1 with ISDN PRI, and in the rest of the world, using E1 with PSTN, with ISDN PRI as well. So this becomes like this lower left part here becomes the infrastructure that you add to Lync that allows Lync to branch out to, I'm going to say a normal telecommunication network.
You've started talking about the VoIP gateway. Can you talk a bit more about what its functions are?
Yes, so gateways. The word gateways in IT is used in all kinds of applications. To kind of provide access or prevent access between two types of networks. So if you extend that to voice, okay, what a voice over IP gateway does is it translates between the legacy phone network and the voice over IP network. And there's all kinds of things a gateway can do, but the two main broad functions it needs to do is it needs to translate the protocols that are used on one network versus the other. So in the case of PSTN or TDM network, I mentioned like ISDN PRI, for instance, and on the voice over IP side, the protocol that is used to establish and tear down calls is SIP. So you need to have a function in the gateway that will translate, call protocol information in ISDN and convert it to SIP and vice versa. So that's one thing. The second broad aspect of features that you need is it needs to packetize the voice, right? So on one side, you have the old TDM in 64 kilobits per second, and on the other side, you have to carry things into packets. So the other big role of a gateway is to convert TDM bit stream into voice over IP packets and vice versa.
What you have not told us yet, though, is why do I need this? I know what it does.
Yeah. A lot of people might say, why do I need to connect to the legacy, right? Everything is voice over IP. And, for me, I've been in telecom long enough. I've seen, I think, the start of voice over IP, and it's been, 25 20-ish, 15 years-ish transition. But there's a lot of, I'm going to say, stuff in the ground, right? There's a lot of investments, decades and decades of investment and assets that are running perfectly fine that use legacy, and that stuff cannot be ripped out in a flash. So I remember when I first worked on an RFP for voice over IP, it was around 96, and we all thought by 2000, the legacy networks wouldn't be around anymore. And just to exemplify this, just to kind of demonstrate this, I just pulled out some data from an Infonetic research, for over a year and a half ago, but it was a North American enterprise survey that was asking, how many are still using T1 PRI versus how many are using SIP trunking, and comparing between what they use today versus what they thought it would be in 2 years time frame. So you can see, there's going to be a lot of SIP trunks and a lot of T1 PRI, and it's still to the tune of probably over 50% of companies still use a legacy T1 PRI, and more people using SIP trunking, but still long ways to go before T1s disappear. So if you have a voice over IP PBX, which is pretty much the only thing you can buy these days, then if you need to connect that to a T1, you're going to need a gateway. You still, the need to connect legacy with voice over IP is still great, and that's why you still need voice over IP gateways.
But I also noticed that when you're talking about a gateway for PSTN, there's more than one way of using gateways in the Lync environment.
So let's kind of step through these 4 examples.
Yeah, this illustration here, the greenfield deployment, says basically throwing everything else away and just using Lync. Is that it?
Yes, exactly. So, this might be, new companies, or maybe companies where their PBX is end of life, or their service contract is due, or, cases like that, and they're ready to just ditch the PBX, and then convert their whole enterprise to Microsoft Lync. So, I simplified here a little bit all the nodes that you might need for Lync, but, you would have this PSTN branch out infrastructure with the mediation server giving you that SIP interface, like I said, and the gateway converting between that environment and your, the T1 that you might be getting from your telco. Okay, and in this case, Lync would be used for enterprise voice, so it would have to be licensed for the 3 categories of features I mentioned before. So the IM, AV, but also the enterprise voice features.
I don't think that the greenfield is the more likely candidate. I think the next one you have, putting it behind the existing PBX and combining the PBX and Lync together, is a more common solution today. Yeah,
although I have to admit I've seen customers, where I recognize the good old PBX kind of collecting dust in one corner of their data center and moving everything to Lync. But you're right, more and more companies tend to kind of gradually transition. So one way of doing that is to leverage your existing, dial plan, your existing infrastructure with your legacy PBX. So, any PBX will have, that existing T1 or E1 connection to the PSTN, and every PBX has what we call line-side T1 or E1 capabilities. Okay, so that you could, in the old days it was used for adding call center applications or adding maybe voicemail platforms to the PBX. So you can use this interface to simply convert, that line-side T1 again into the SIP environment and push these calls into a Microsoft Lync setup. And companies can use this either to convert specific departments, right? So they might decide this department is going on Lync and we remove their extensions from the PBX, and you arrange the dial plan to simply send calls to the Lync side for their extensions. Or what more companies actually do is they have both devices on people's desks. So you still have your old phone from the PBX, and you have now maybe the Lync software on your desktop software, and you set up the PBX so that both lines ring at the same time, and whichever line you decide to pick, you're connected and you're ready to go. But this is nice in the way that is more evolutionary way of or progressive way of migrating without doing a flash cut and ditching your PBX on a weekend and risk issue. So that's leveraging the existing PBX kind of infrastructure. And again, you need a gateway to convert between the legacy and the new voice over IP environment.
I'd like to change your focus for a minute and go to the next slide, which I think a lot of people have not even considered, is how the gateway can support business continuity and branch of office failover.
Yeah. So one example, Lync can be very useful to distribute, a UC infrastructure across, a central headquarter or a central data center and multiple branches. But the issue with the branches is they have, in this sort of environment, Lync users that are sitting at the branch, they have to access via their data connection back to the headquarters or back to the data center. They need access to this Lync server, right? Because Lync server is where the functionality of Lync resides. So if this user at the branch wants to participate in a video conference, he's actually getting this functionality from this server, right? So if you lose that connectivity to the data center, then if you don't have some sort of infrastructure at the branch, that user is completely blown out, is completely gone, no access to any communication. So for that, Microsoft makes available what is called a survivable branch server. And what it is, it's kind of a lightweight Microsoft Lync. It has a local registrar. And when you pair this with a local gateway, if you lose that one connection, so if you imagine that one data connection is gone for some reason, then at least that branch has access to a minimum set of features, which is essentially to be able to make and receive local calls. And once again, right, a Lync environment is voice over IP. If that branch is connected with a few analog lines or with a T1, you'll still need another gateway on location here to make that conversion between PSTN and that branch. Okay, so while you may need large gateways at headquarters, they will also be very useful at the branch to be able to make and receive local calls.
One of the points I've learned in procuring IPPBX systems is the cost of replacing phones. It could be as much as 50% of the bill. Yes. So a lot of the customers I've talked to want to keep their analog phones for some period of time because they don't need the features of an IP phone in many locations.
Yes, and it's true in the voice over in the Lync environment as well. So here I have something that kind of brings up how this can be solved. So it's quite busy, but let's build it up. So we have here the Lync environment. We have that mediation server that allows to branch out from Lync to a normal SIP connection. On the other side here, I have an FXS voice over IP gateway. So what this is it's a gateway that has voice over IP on one side, and on the other side it has a bunch of analog, normal analog connectors where you can plug analog phones. Okay, in the case of Sangoma, we have a product that's called Vega 5000, and it supports up to 50 of those. Okay, so that's what this little image says. Think of this as an analog to voice over IP gateway. And then I have the other icon that I've been using since the start, normal voice over IP gateway that gives you that T1 interface. So one of the things you can do, for instance, is and this is especially true in company like maybe hotels, right, or schools, colleges, where maybe you want the corporate users on Microsoft Lync, but I'm not going to convert every single room or maybe student dorms, every phone line into an expensive Lync line. So I want to keep these analog lines. And for that, what you can do is convert these analog lines into a normal voice over IP phone call, right? And then when a call comes in to your PBX, right? Now this whole thing is now your PBX. When a call comes in inbound, then what you can do is the gateway, there's a dial plan inside a gateway on top of doing these protocol and packet conversion. It has a dial plan, and what you can do is you can say, gateway, before you send a call somewhere, look at where that phone number resides. And one way that you can do this in Lync is to actually look up into Active Directory database. If you find a number in Active Directory, it means that it's a Lync user. So then the gateway can take an intelligent decision and send a call the way of where the Lync infrastructure is. If you cannot find that phone number inside Active Directory, it means it resides on the analog side. So the gateway, the front-end gateway here, can be used to make an intelligent routing decision that's transparent.
Now, where does Sangoma fit in this market? And would you provide some resources and contact information for us?
Yeah, so Sangoma, whether we talk about voice over IP gateways, okay, we have a whole range of product that fit that category. We go from very low density, just a few analog lines, all the way to 50 analog lines, like I mentioned. We have products that take a single T1 all the way up to 4 T1s, and even for service providers, we have like these, gateways that support 2,000, 4,000 number of concurrent calls. Okay, and this scales. It's the same experience for a user, that needs to support these products from just a few ports all the way up to several thousand. So that's on the gateway side. On the SBC side, it's pretty much the same. It's a newer arena for us, but it's the same. We start from very low density for enterprise CPE equipment, and we move all the way up to servicing service providers with thousands, the need for thousands and thousands of simultaneous calls. One of the things that we do, we pay attention to, as these products can have hundreds and hundreds of parameters to configure and can become quite daunting to configure. But we pay attention to this. We provide very simple GUIs, web-based GUIs with templates, with quick configs that allow you to step through very quickly and cover most use cases. Okay, so our channels, our partners, resellers, integrators love that aspect from us.
Some resources? Yeah.
So I've from these points, so for gateways and NetBorder, for enterprise gateways that we call Vega, and for the NetBorder family carriers gateways, so simply reach this URL from the main page at Sangoma under the Voice over IP Gateways category. Okay, and you'll find every single product that we find. You'll also find that we offer. You'll find lots of white papers, lots of use cases that you can read from. And for session border controllers, same thing. From the main page, go to session border controllers products, and you'll find the whole panoply of SBCs that we offer. And to contact us, the main website, we have our main number, with extension 2 for sales here, and of course our sales@sangoma.com email.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sure those listening and watching this will learn an awful lot from this Educast. Thank you, Frederic.
Thank you very much.